This is Michelle Rumschlag, Naturalist, and welcome to Nature's Virtual Classroom with the Hancock Park District. Today's topic is traveling seeds. So we're going to find out what a seed is and why seeds are traveling and how they travel. So first, what is a seed? A seed is a tiny, partly developed young plant surrounded by a stored food supply and a protective seed coat. Now, have you eaten seeds today or lately? I know I have. Who's had strawberries, blueberries, raspberries? Maybe you had a garden this summer and ate some cucumbers or tomatoes. And I'm sure with the season up upon us, you're all going to have some pumpkin seeds. So we're all enjoying some of these seeds. So why do plants have seeds? Well, it's to produce other plants. And so here at the Discovery Center at Oakwoods Nature Preserve, we have some plants that are getting ready to disperse some of those seeds. And it does depend on the type of plant and how they're doing that, and we'll get to that later. So the size of a seed. Just because a plant is small doesn't mean it has a small seed. It could have a rather large seed. So it doesn't always depend on the plant size of the seed size. If there are larger seeds, think something like a coconut, they're not going to produce as many. On the other hand, if it's a plant like a dandelion, it's going to produce many types of seeds because those seeds are small. So let's talk about what a plant needs to survive and those seeds need. Well, when it disperses that seed, it has to find a place to grow. It needs soil, it needs sunlight, it needs water, and some type of nutrients. So just because a seed is going somewhere, it has to have those right things and able to grow into a plant later on. Now we're noticing more seeds here in the fall because a lot of things are dying off, but plants kind of drop their seeds throughout the year. But this time of year, they're being dispersed and they're kind of lying dormant through the winter. A lot of them need to go through that cold weather, and then they're going to grow next spring. So why are they dispersing? Well, they want to produce more of whatever plant they have. So this is a Joe pieweed plant here, and they want to have more pieweeds in other areas. So the seeds don't want to just drop below their parent plant or the plant that the seed came from, because the parent plant will probably outcompete it for those things I just talked about. The soil, the sunlight, and all those nutrients. So by having the seeds in a different place, they'd be able to find those things themselves. They also want to have plants in other areas. If we already have a nice population of Joe pieweed here, maybe we don't have in another part of Oakwoods Nature Preserve. So by dispersing the seeds, the plants can grow in other areas. So we're going to talk a little bit more again of how they travel and the different ways they do that. And we're going to start first with water and self-explosion. Now we're going to get into the different ways that plants have their seeds dispersed. And the first one is using the water. So these are plants that live near a water source. So think a stream, a brook, a river, a lake, or even the ocean. And they're using that water as transportation to take the seed from one place to another. So around here, we might have trees that are the willows, and they use the water kind of as a secondary way to transport their seeds. They're also using the wind, but they're using those seed pods as little float containers, again, to transport them. So I have a picture of some other plants that use the water that don't live around here. So the top one is a lotus plant. And so you can see this whole part right here. This container has those little seeds. Those are the little balls that you're seeing. And the container will float. So it's like a little boat or transport that will get into the waterway and then hopefully go upon some other type of land in a different area. And again, if it has the right soil, it can get some sunlight and those nutrients, a new lotus plant will grow. Will all seeds grow into plants? Of course not. They might be found in a spot that's not habitable. If they're edible, they might be eaten by an animal. That's why plants sometimes make so many seeds to have just a few of those survive into a plant. The bottom one we're all familiar with, and that's of course is a coconut. So there's actually a seed inside the coconut. So again, it can float when it gets into the water and will travel down. This would be in the ocean. Again, can find on land somewhere else, and will able to grow that way. So some of them are using water, again, because that's where those plants are found. Our next one is called discharge or self-explosion. So these are plants that don't need really people to be around to able to move those seeds. And so just like the name implies, they have mechanisms kind of built within their own plant structure to kind of self-explode or fire or discharge those seeds. So what's happening is sometimes the pods or parts of the plants are shrinking as the growing season goes, and then it just kind of snaps and the seeds travel. Are they traveling very far? Probably not, but they're not depending on other weather things to get their seeds to other places. So some of our examples that we do have around here, violets do this. The top picture is of lupin, so they're using that. And the bottom one I want to talk about more is called jewelweed. So we have this throughout our parks. They're a part of the touch-me-not family. So like the name implies, if you touch it, the seeds will go. Another neat fact about them is they're usually found around poison ivy. So it said if you get into poison ivy, this is a plant that you kind of want to rub on you to help get rid of those oils. So with the jewelweed, again, they have a spring-like mechanism built in within their leaves and their stems. And so it might be the wind shaking them, it might be an animal, maybe a coyote walks by, or if we're walking by and touches it, then that spring's gonna go off and it's gonna send those seeds flying. Now we're gonna talk about wind. I think this is one that a lot of plants use when dispersing their seeds. A good reason is because there's wind and air around us all the time. A bad reason, it kind of depends how fast that wind is moving and how far those seeds can travel. If there's a strong wind, these seeds might travel miles away from that parent plant. If the wind's not blowing that day, it might only go a few feet. So let's look under leaf number 1. And one of our very common plants that we have are the dandelions. So these are ones, picture here, that have those little tiny fluffs on there after they're done growing. You might even have this as a game as a kid and see if you can blow all of them off with one breath. So how many seeds does a dandelion make? Well, there's about 15,000 seeds per plant. There's an average of 10 flowers on each plant. So on one of these, you're looking at 150 to 200 seeds per flower. So it uses those little tiny kind of fluff things, again, to get in the air. Because they're tiny, it's not going to take a lot of wind to transport them everywhere. So this is why maybe if you're spraying your lawn and don't want dandelions and you're getting them there, it's because your neighbors might have dandelions and it doesn't take much for those seeds to travel. So this is a great example of some of those fluff ones. Another one that we have around here under leaf number 2 is our milkweed. So here we have a picture of our milkweed pods. And again, these ones are using fluff, a little bit different. The fluff's a little bit bigger because the seed is bigger. So it's gonna need more air to get under there to transport it to a different spot. I have examples of some milkweed, and even by kind of just a little bit of air, or opening the bag even really, they were kind of going everywhere already. So here's one that I've got with a seed on it, and they're kind of breaking apart as I open it up here. And as we pour them out, these are nicely packed into our pod. So you can see, here's one seed with its fluff on there. And again, any little air or any little will cause it to blow and kind of go everywhere. Other ones would be cottonwood, thistle. So think anything that you see with a little fuzz on it, that's going to take the wind and blow with those fluffs. Another one that's using wind is under leaf number 3, and that is our helicopters, our whirlies. They're called samaras, and these belong to maple trees. So these aren't using fluff. Their seeds have what I call like a blade part to them. So they're still capturing the wind, but a little different than what the fluff ones are. So we've all seen these on our maple trees. They come down from the tree, kind of whirl around and land on the ground. Again, it kind of needs a stronger wind to get to other areas, but maybe, animals might be picking them up afterwards, but using those blades to get to another spot. Our last method of seed dispersal is called hitchhikers. And there's a couple of different areas in this that are involving humans and other animals. So let's remove leaf number 1. Our poor bobcat friend has a seed, a burdock seed, kind of stuck in his fur. So this is the first part. So seeds that have hooks or other methods of attaching themselves to animals' fur or to even us. We've all walked through the woods or maybe a grassy area and come out with little seeds on our shoelaces, on our socks, and you have to take them off. Now animals might have a harder time. Eventually they probably fall off, or if they rub near a stump or something, but for us obviously we take that seed off. So having these little hooks is what attaches to the fur, and then they can travel. So think about if you went to the woods and then you went home and took the seeds out and maybe you threw them in the trash. Those seeds aren't going to grow. But maybe you didn't come in the house with them and threw them in your yard, and now you might have tick seed or burdock or many others that use those hooks. So it was actually this burdock that led to the invention of Velcro. So back in 1941, there was a Swiss engineer named George de Mestral who went out walking with his dogs one day, and when he came back, he noticed there were seeds stuck in his clothes and on his dog's fur. So he took a closer look at them and again saw these little hooks on there and thought, well, is there a way that this can be used in a commercial application? So it took him about 7 years to develop it, and he came up with Velcro. So think of all the different ways we use it in our lives today. It's on your shoes, it's on your coats, it's on your winter coat, it might be on your lunch bag. Everything that needs securing might have Velcro. And the name itself came from some French words. So velours means velvet, so that's that soft part of the Velcro, think the animal's fur. And then crochet, which means hook, which is the hook part of that plant. So Anne took a little walk and invented something in the process. So another one that animals can do, and this would be consuming those things, and that's eating berries. So we have a picture here of our cedar waxwing, and think of all the berries that are out in the woods, especially in the fall. You might have grapes, serviceberry. Early in the year we have cherries and mulberries, viburnum berries. And inside those fruits are seeds. So think of a cherry. So there's that pit inside of there. So they're brightly colored, which attracts birds like cedar waxwings, blue jays, all kinds of animals. And even ground animals. So if the cherry falls to the ground, you could have chipmunks, raccoons, skunks eating those seeds. Well, the seeds usually have a protective covering, so after being eaten, they're not going to be digested or broken down within that bird's stomach. So when birds are getting ready to fly to another area, they will usually poop or kind of lighten their load so it's easier to fly. So they might then poop out some seeds that they found earlier, and now you've got cherry seeds in a spot that can grow again if they've got the right soil, water, and sunlight, and you have more of those plants growing. This time of year too, when there's a lot of berries, you might get poop on your parents' car, and it's barely colored because of the purples and the reds of the berry. But if you want to take a closer look, you might even notice some of those seeds on there. So again, those aren't going to grow on your windshield, but if they land in a grassy area, they do have a better chance. The last one would be animals eating, or maybe not eating of seeds, but forgetting where they're putting some of those seeds. And the great one is the squirrel. So our squirrel friend here has an acorn. They also eat things like hickory nuts and walnuts and different type of nuts that the trees produce. And we know that they bury or cache their nuts, hopefully coming back later. But squirrels don't remember everything. They don't remember where they planted all those seeds. So they figure there's been millions of trees that have been planted inadvertently and grown because of squirrels forgetting where they plant some of those nuts. This would also be with ants. Ants will bring seeds sometimes down for their young, and again, something happens to the colony, or the seeds are left, and again, if it's the right growing conditions, you then have other plants that can grow. Now we're at the part of the program where we want to talk about some of the materials we used and how you can get them. So it was all about seeds today. Well, there are some ways you can get them online. They have some different seed kits that you can purchase, and we're going to provide those websites available for you. So this might have a good variety of seeds of ones not just found in Ohio, but maybe throughout the world that you can look at. But of course, we have plenty of seeds here, and you can start in your backyard. So maybe your pet's gone out, walked around, or maybe just yourself and you've collected seeds, being a hitchhiker. So take those seeds off. Maybe look them online to see what they are, or plant them. Have yourself your own mystery garden and see what comes from those seeds. How do you collect them? Well, if they're not on your shoes, get an old sock. Put it on your hand like this and go around and kind of rub through the plants and collect them that way. Or put the socks over your shoes and take a hike somewhere. Again, pick off those seeds and you can plant them that way too. The seeds that we use a lot in our programs are collected right here on the parks. So we go to our prairies and our woods and collect ones from our prairie plants. I have some buckeye seeds here. So this way we're able to show the kids seeds of plants that are growing here in Northwest Ohio. While we don't want you to collect our seeds and take them home, we'd love to have your help collecting the seeds. So we're collecting them that we can plant in some other areas of our parks. We're really trying to get rid of a lot of our invasive species, and that's leaving a lot of open space. So we want to plant that with some native things. So we're going to have some contact information at the end of the video where you can help us in collecting those. So thanks for joining me today. Next time we're going to talk all about animal tracks. So you need to register by Tuesday, September 22nd, with a video running on Wednesday, September 23rd and Thursday, September 24th. Again, thanks for joining me and have a great day.